Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family.
We're finally sitting down to talk about our couples retreat that we hosted in Hawaii over spring break. And it was such an amazing event. And there's takeaways that I think everyone can benefit, not just a big recap of our couples retreat, but a lot of things stood out to us and a lot of things we want to pass on to you. So
yeah, we just to kind of get right to it, it was really a full circle moment for Melissa and I that I don't think it really dawned on either one of us until we were there. And Melissa just shared a reel about it, I think yesterday actually, on her Instagram, which if you're not following Melissa on Instagram, I don't even know how you're getting through the day. I don't even know how you're functioning.
We had this side note. Chris and I had this funny little competition maybe like a year ago about Instagram, and he totally crushed me.
You still,
I know.
you owe me a trip. Thanks for bringing that up. Melissa, it was all Melissa's idea. She goes, all right, we're gonna push each other to see if we can get the most followers and put out meaningful content and grow. And if you win, then Family Brand has to pay for a epic trip. If she's like, if I win, Possibility Co has to pay for an epic trip. But
But we digress.
Go follow Melissa on Instagram is basically the point of all that. But the full circle moment was Melissa and I had not been to the North Shore by ourselves in 11 years. That's where we moved with our family in 2020. We've been out multiple times with our children. We love the North Shore.
Even longer. I'm going to interject. Even longer than 11 years, because we were there in 2011. And that was what, like 14 years back.
Yeah. So I guess it was our first time, just the two of us in 14 years. And when we were there 14 years ago, we were in a really rocky place in our marriage. I think it was still very much like, are we even going to make it? Is this marriage worth fighting for? So not only be back there 14 years later, really happy and really fulfilled and really liking each other, but to add on to that we were also there hosting a couples retreat with 20 couples. It was just this really cool moment that for me is like, oh man, like your marriage is really worth fighting for. And to not give up hope and to not give up, the belief that more could be possible. And also, I think a lot of times when people hear our story, they're looking for like this magic, like secret. Like, okay, how'd you do it? How'd you go from 14 years ago being in Hawaii together, not even believing you would make it, to then 14 years later, really happy and hosting a couples retreat? And the reality is, and I hope you take this as some form of like comfort, and I hope it's like inspiring to you, is that there isn't anything that's like crazy magic. It was continuing to like work at it a little bit every day and holding out belief, seeking out counselors, mentors, surrounding ourselves with like really great people. Melissa actually put together a really awesome post that maybe we can link in the show notes of the 9 things we did to fight for our marriage. So anyways, it was just a really cool full circle moment to really appreciate each other. And I think acknowledge maybe the work we'd done. And now we were getting to share some lessons that we'd learned along the way with some other, really just incredible couples. It was so inspiring to be around these 20 other couples.
So we had a kickoff dinner, and we had, in the way it was structured in the mornings on Friday and Saturday morning, we had class time, I guess you could say, we're workshopping things. Really, it was a meeting of like entrepreneurial minds. I think most of the couples there were entrepreneurs, about how can you really prioritize your marriage? What are the systems? What are the structures? How do you have a strong vision for your future? Because I think a lot of times as entrepreneur couples, you get kind of bogged down in the details of just day to day. And so this was a great opportunity to like look up for a minute. We had one couple, a couple different conversations that stood out to me. Is one couple was like, oh, I can't remember the last time we've got away together. It had been at least 10 years for them. I think they said might have been like since we've even been married. I don't know if we ever have. And then another couple, I noticed they were saying, I think they posted it on Instagram even, we haven't been to the gym, just the two of us, in over 5 years. And there was like a selfie of them at the gym together. And I was like, how cool that these couples are here and that they are prioritizing their marriage. And you don't have to wait for a couples retreat to prioritize your marriage. I think that's one big idea that I want to make sure comes through in this episode is I think sometimes we're waiting for a couples retreat or this thing coming up like that maybe this will help make we just got to hold out until this thing or maybe
Or we got to wait till this season of life is over.
totally. Yeah, like till our kids are older and why there are challenges with every phase of life and when your kids are little. I think that's a mistake to be waiting for something else like to happen or time to pass. You can prioritize right now. And in fact, we had a couple reach out to us who was going to be at the retreat. They reached out to us just a week before the retreat saying, we're not going to be able to make it to the retreat because we are no longer together. They said, I realized that something, I signed up for this retreat thinking that this would really help us. I know something's been missing for us for a long time, but the retreat didn't come soon enough and we're no longer a couple. We're proceeding with our divorce. And first of all, I was like, that is really sad. And yeah, I just felt like, I don't know. I wish I wouldn't have waited for the couples retreat. And I don't know all the details, of course. I'm sure there's many details there that I have no clue about. But if there's something in your marriage that you feel like is missing or that you want to improve, don't hope that it gets better. Don't wish and wait. Like you can do something about it now. Like hire a couples therapist or a counselor or take a course on marriage or if there's a specific issue or challenge in your marriage, like take a course on that. Start doing date nights, like all these little things. Like, don't wait until the problem is so big that it's like unrecoverable. Start now doing something about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the thought I had, and I shared this at the couples retreat, I've shared this a lot on the podcast, this idea that you're either intentionally growing together or you're accidentally drifting apart. And I don't think that means you're intentionally growing together every single moment of every single day. Melissa and I recognize plenty of times, even now in our marriage, where it's like, okay, for like the last month or the last 2 or 3 weeks or the last week, we have not been connecting well. We have not been growing together. Let's get back into it. And then there's some times where we feel like we're on a really good streak. And so it does ebb and flow. And I would say if you can build in like some non-negotiables that really like it does not matter the season of life. It does not matter the ages of our children. It doesn't matter what's going on in business. This is one thing that we're going to do every single week that is a forcing function that at least that guarantees that we're going to connect a little bit. And even that may not be perfect, but it's something. And I think a system like that sometimes saves us from ourselves. And for us, that has been date night, or let's just say weekly date, because Indy just was pointing out you guys don't even go on date night. You go lunch dates a lot. But whatever it is, that is a forcing function to make sure that, hey, at a minimum, even if we're running in different directions almost every day and kind of passing each other in the house once in a while as, almost like roommates, at least we know we can count on this. And I think it's really easy, though, not to do that. I think it's really easy to and you don't even recognize it's happening. It's so like insidious, like that it just happens a little bit over time. And sometimes you drift so far apart that it's like, we can't find our way back. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised maybe by the number of couples who they were actually really in a pretty good marriage and really liked each other. It wasn't even like something really terrible happened or there was this like significant neglect or they slowly drifted apart. They drifted so far apart for so long that again, they couldn't see their way back. And then, yeah, there are times where there's like really significant challenges. So it was a reminder for me. First of all, I loved being out there with Melissa. Our kids were not stoked that we did not take them. We were really stoked that we didn't take them. We love our kids, but the couples retreat was Thursday evening through Saturday night. And we went out on Monday and got to spend time on the North Shore which we love. It was really cool to go back to a place we'd lived. It just felt like we were coming home. It felt very easy. It is so easy not to prioritize your marriage. It's actually the easiest thing in all of the family dynamics to not prioritize. Like, it's easier to prioritize your children because in some degree you kind of have to. But you can show up for your kids, you can show up for your work, your friends, your church, and it's almost like the thing that is the most likely to be put on the back burner, interestingly enough, is the one thing that, if invested in, makes all of the other things better. And that's your marriage, like your relationship with your significant other.
So the last thing I'll say is you should take a getaway.
Okay.
It was so good for us. And even though a lot of it was, technically we were on the clock working, even just those, we got in late kind of Monday. So really it was only Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and a half a day Thursday. Even just that little bit was so good for us. We were like, oh my gosh, we still like each other. Not that we were necessarily questioning it, but it's like we haven't had 2 days to ourselves in forever. So it was just a reminder like, okay, we still enjoy each other. This is amazing. And we got to keep doing this. And you should too. And whether you can get away for a day or 3 days or 5 days, doesn't really matter. I think start, like Chris said, with the date nights. And then if you can take a couple's getaway, I really think you should. I talked about this a few weeks ago, but I'll mention it here again because it's applicable. I have a couple's getaway guide that I put together in anticipation of this event that we just hosted, so that you could take some of the takeaways that we were talking about at the retreat. You could take them, and you don't have to be at the retreat.
This guide is, yeah, it's insane. I actually questioned multiple times, why are you putting so much time into this? Like,
I definitely put too much time into it.
no, it's amazing. It's remarkable.
But it's like 30 pages and it'll even walk you through, like, say if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I could never get away, like who would watch my kids and how would we afford this? And the guide talks about all of that. It takes you from like, I want to go on a getaway to like getting on a getaway. How to set intentions for your trip, questions to ask, and it has like activities to do while you're there. It's really good.
Reminds me of the NF song, No Excuses. You will have no excuses after this getaway guide. You'll be like, okay, like every excuse I had for not doing it, Melissa has taught me how to get past that.
And the getaway guide, I did a training on it. It was like a 30-minute, like a coaching call around it too. So you get the getaway guide plus like a 30-minute training on exactly how to execute it and everything. If you go to familybrand.com/webinar, you'll be able to find that recording and that guide. It's $11, which honestly is a steal for what it is.
Last thing I would say, some of you have probably heard us talk about this incredible research that we stumbled upon a few years ago out of the University of Nebraska that has really shaped a lot of the foundation of what Melissa has built, called the Family Brand Academy. So when a family wants to create their mission, vision, values, Melissa's built this incredible course on how to do that. And really simple. You can do it in days. But it was based on this research of what makes up strong families. And it was a really cool research project because most of the research that had been done about families over the decades had always been around what makes families dysfunctional, what makes families break down, what has families not work, which there's usefulness in studying that. You can glean some insights. And these researchers were like, why do we only ever study the things about families that don't work? Why don't we also study what does work? Let's study strong families. And they set their criteria for what made up a strong family. And then they went and interviewed tens of thousands of families all over the world. They did it for over, was like 3 decades, 100 researchers, super exhaustive study. And they basically came back and said, families have these 6 strengths. Strong families have these 6 strengths. And it's very clear. And the number one strength, and according to the research was the most important, because without this one, nothing else is possible, is strong families prioritize family. And strong families have oftentimes a couple of, at the helm who prioritize each other. And look, doesn't mean you have to be married to prioritize family. Melissa and I know plenty of single parents who are incredible, who are amazing leaders for their families, who prioritize family. And if you are in a marriage, if you are in a relationship, that is like, it's the well. Like, I think everything stems from and flows from the marriage. Stronger the marriage, the stronger the family. The happier the marriage, the happier the family. The healthier the marriage, the healthier the family. It's just, and so you are making the greatest investment, I believe, you could ever make in your children's lives and future generations by prioritizing your marriage, because everything stems from that. And so, if nothing else, you take from this for me would be, what can you do that's a non-negotiable, daily or weekly, that will be a forcing function at this season of your life to be like, I know that if we do this, we will at least prioritize our marriage at this stage of our life.
Okay, challenge you to do the work. How can you prioritize? And let's build strong families, strong marriages, because I think it's funny this week. We've been kind of busy the last couple of weeks since we've been back. And Chris has had a lot of hours at work, and he came to me one day and he was like, I don't even remember exactly what you said, but you were basically just saying like, hey, I have a lot of work coming up. Can you, support me and be on board with these extra hours? He has some travel coming up. And I was like, Chris, just take me to Hawaii every so often. I will be good. It just makes, having that time together and ensuring that our relationship is good, it just makes life work so much better, I think. So I want that for you too. Make it happen. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Family Brand Podcast. But wait, before you go, I want to give you something. It's something I stole out of our Family Brand Academy because I thought it would make a big difference for you, and I want you to have it for free, no strings attached. It's how we run our family meetings, and not just our family meetings that we have every week, but also our family check-ins, which is this system we've developed for how to connect with our kids and each other, Chris and I, every single week. And we've had some great outcomes with this. Not only have we, but a lot of families that have implemented this have as well. Actually, life-changing outcomes, if I'm being honest. You'll definitely want to get this. Go get your copy at familybrand.com/meeting, and we will catch you next time.